Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, others, to another edition of Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, brought to you by us, the folks at Nerd Caliber. And since he's been waiting in the chat already, Luminous, welcome to the show.
Hi,
Um,
Luminous.
it's 8 p.m. It's time to start. We got a lot of topics, and there are two of us, so we're going to go through things fairly quickly. But there are some things we want to get into in depth. And so we're going to start right out of the gate with the introductions. I'm Rodney Brown, editor-in-chief, Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter as a photographer on the internet, Burley _ adopter, some other places. Joining me tonight with the awesome colored hair is, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Gogo Incognito. I've been with Nerd Caliber for 5 or 6 years now. You can see all of my awesome videos that I just did at New York Comic Con up on the Nerd Caliber YouTube. I mean, I may not look like this because I'm going to be in cosplay, and that's awesome.
And
Other
awesome
ways,
cosplay.
thank you so much. Other ways to find me online is just my name. It's Gogo, Gogo, Incognito. You just look that up. Like it's Gogo Incognito on Instagram and Facebook and everything else. And that's how you find me. And there's a cat crawling on me and
I'm
everybody
like, you grew a tail, Go-Go. That's
I know.
awesome.
It's like, and suddenly cat my like internet cred just went whoop. But so here we go. And I'm happy to be back.
Awesome. Freddie, welcome. Dan Caroline, welcome. Hi, hello, welcome. Hi, hello, hi, hello. That name is challenging, but creative.
I can't see it, so I can't help.
Well, the name is literally hi, hello. So.
Oh hi. Oh hi. Hello. Hi. Hello.
Yeah. So, one other, two things I actually want to do before I get started. One is I just finally got in my stickers from Killer Curves. Babs Tar and partners. They do these awesome artworks. This little store pops up for just a couple of weeks in the fall, well ahead of Halloween. And I said, gee, if you had coffee mugs, which they didn't, so I bought stickers and made my own coffee mug.
Yep. Wait, Rodney. After you sip, hold
Mm-hmm.
it up a little bit more. Yes, we see the killer curves.
Halloweeny.
Halloween.
And I go ahead. Nope.
Me?
Yep. You were jumping in with something, or?
Oh, I was just looking at the butt.
Yeah, it's a good butt.
Yeah,
Babs,
it's a good butt.
Babs
So.
is an excellent artist all around, but Babs does butts well. Um. So, and the other thing is I have to give kudos, shout outs, congratulations to my son for taking third place in his weight division in the Panhandle Strongest Strongman competition and qualifying for the Nationals. Go, kiddo.
Go kid. Well done.
Well done. Nationals are next June in Minneapolis, so yay. Lots of time to train. Don't break nothing. Let's see. We got Freddy. Yeah. Are you a Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic? Hi. Oh, asking that if I'll. Hi. Hello. So never mind. Keep talking amongst yourselves, as they say, until we get to something that you want to talk about, like this, like maybe our first subject, which is, I don't know if you own a PlayStation. If you do, you may recognize the PlayStation Vue logo, which is their TV delivery service for people who own PlayStation devices. And the news is it's toast. They're canceling it. It's done. As of the end of January, you will no longer be able to use your PlayStation like you do a Fire Stick or a Roku or an Apple TV. That's it.
I'm playing on my PlayStation. It's actually I mean, I really started out on the Xbox years and years and years ago. But then I got my PlayStation 4 and that controller, and you can gender this however you want. I really don't care. I have very strong hands, but they are small hands. I just like that controller better. And it's not just the controller, it's that I like the steering better. And going back to some of my games recently with both my Xbox 4 and my PlayStation 4 of the Xbox, whatever it's called, Xbox One, I don't even know. Um, the PlayStation just drove better, but I've never used, even as somebody who is gaming every single day, I just never use the view. So
Yeah, I mean, it's
somebody else in the comments will have something relevant to say. I'm sorry, I don't.
yeah. So Freddie and Hi Hello both say they have PS4s. I don't know that there are that many people who did use it. That's probably one of the reasons why they shut it down. I think that
Yes,
this is
yeah.
probably also one of the first victims of some of the news that's going to be coming up real soon in the show, which is about the new streaming services that are going to be coming up, including Disney Plus, which is
So
just months away.
many.
So
Oh, but
many.
that
Well,
Disney
not even so
Plus.
many, such so big.
Oh,
The
that's
monsters that are out there are basically anybody who has a service like this. They're done. Um, it'll be interesting to see whether or not Sling either continues or decides to sell itself to somebody else, which is another like the PlayStation View, except it's available on a whole bunch of different devices instead of PlayStation. Um, so yeah, so PlayStation View is done. If you use it, January 30th, it's toast. So time to look for something else. Um, now, something completely different, as the Monty Python folks say. This is if you're a fan of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or any of the stuff from the Spider-Verse, the alternate universe Spider-Man stuff. This shouldn't be any real big surprise, but Spider-Man Noir is getting his own comic book based on the popularity of his character from Into the Spider-Verse. As you can see from the design that popped up on your screen, it's a little different than it was um, in the movie. It's a little bit more like the appearances that he's had in the comic books, with a little bit more Spider-Man to it. Like he doesn't have the sort of steampunky goggles, which is in the movie, and also in his original appearances in the comic books. So, um, good news for Spider-Man fans.
I feel like this is just an easy sell though. This is also something I grew up on comics. My parents are in their 60s now, and the first comic they ever introduced me to, which was some of their own comics, was Spider-Man and some characters that are no longer around. Like they introduced me first to like Spider-Man and Iceman and Firestar, like which
Oh,
was
which
a
started out as
whole
the Saturday morning cartoon.
a Saturday morning cartoon. That was like literally the first one they gave me. And then when I got me in, and then it was like, hey kid, read some X-Men. It was like, okay. But after seeing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse last year, I like my parents are kind of like they have hip problems and issues. So they don't love going out to movies. They wait for things to come on the TV. But I went back and I'm like pantomiming how amazing it was. And I was like, wait until you get to this Spider-Man Noir character. Oh my God. You're gonna love him. And like I had like gotten a coat and like put it over my head and was like blah blah blah. And I said the whole thing with the egg cream.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is the thing is they actually knew what an egg cream was. So they and for those of you who don't, just look it up. It's not delicious, but it's fine. It's what they served. We
So many things that we considered or people my age considered delicious from like a soda or snack standpoint back in the day really weren't. Really weren't.
what do we get? What do we get now? We get like Mike and Ike's and like mozzarella sticks. I don't know. I don't know. I just always get popcorn, so I really don't know. But my parents got it immediately. They got it immediately and they were like, "Oh, the egg cream." And it was so amazing because for me it bridged this gap back that they had originally given to me as the Spider-Man. And so for Spider-Man Noir, which also for anyone who is into also the cattails back. Um, for anyone who's into hard-boiled life, you're gonna get your life with this. And
I, fingers crossed. Now we won't know
oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, we won't know for sure how hard boiled this is going to be until it appears next March, in March 2020. Um,
But we can hope and we can want that it will be all that hard-boiled talk and all
right,
that action that they gave us in the movie.
right. I think his first appearance or his first like limited run series was a Marvel Knights, which was darker, grittier, and so they could go more noir. This is going to be in the main continuity of Marvel, so we'll see. But again, I'm hoping. Um, they've taken some pretty daring steps within the main continuity lately, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, now we're moving on to this is like I'm not I don't know what to classify this. This is going to go by real fast. Haha, that's a pun. Because it's about Sonic the Hedgehog. Um, so there's this news that's sort of out there that apparently they've people have gotten the first look at the redesign of Sonic from the upcoming movie, where the CGI fuzzy Sonic looked so horrible, and apparently that's his new look on a stand-up at a theater somewhere that some Twitter user took a photo of. No confirmation of that from anybody else. Samantha, welcome to the show. And yes, that was a cat. Um,
He's not gone. He may be back. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
there's the images haven't actually officially been released, so we don't know for sure. This could be just like a really elaborate Photoshop job, um, and I don't really see a ton of difference. I mean, we see the one look, and we don't see him making that dumb face that he made. The noise
Right.
is longer and pointier, which as it should be.
The nose is longer and pointier. We don't see the teeth, which were the main issue.
Yep.
So we can't really comment on that. It's just a takeaway. And it does look better. It's again, it's more what it should be and less uncanny valley.
Yep.
So there's that.
It's we'll have to pay attention to this, folks. If you're interested, keep an eye on it. See whether or not Sony makes an official, or whoever's making
See
the movie
things,
makes an
send
official.
it in to us. We love getting stuff from viewers. So let us know what you think.
Paramount's the one that's making this. So if Paramount makes an official announcement, that's great. Otherwise, just keep an eye out for it. Um, Hi Hello says go back to the Sonic trailer and like it. Go dislike the Cats movie trailer. You go do that. You do you, man. Um, Moving on to our next bit of news. And for me personally, this is kind of sad because this is an excellent show. Cloak and Dagger, the Marvel show on Freeform, has been canceled. 2 seasons. We got 2 seasons out of it. And it was one of the better Marvel adaptations that I've seen. Where they made changes to the characters and the overall world made sense. Um, the writing was outstanding, particularly again the characterization writing. Um, and I'm a little worried about this because this is kind of a spoiler for the end of the last season of Runaways, another Marvel teenager show on Hulu, but not much because nothing happens. At the end of this last season of Runaways, Cloak and Dagger appear. And there was an awful lot of talk about that happening, and we covered it on this show a couple of times where there were plans to have a crossover event between these two teenager-focused shows, The Runaways, which is a Hulu property, and Cloak and Dagger, which was on Freeform. Now, who knows? And who knows what this means for The Runaways? At the end of this last season, even though they're already promoting season 3 will happen. Um, Actually, I've got that wrong. The promotion is at the end of season 3, Cloak and Dagger show up. So either Cloak and Dagger will become a member of the Runaways, um, or Runaways will be canceled on Hulu and everything moves over to Disney Plus. So Or Cloak and Dagger is done.
Another
Done.
coup for Disney Plus, which was going to have everything, and I'm not mad about it.
I'm not either. Todoroki, welcome. Don't freeze or burn the show. Um, yeah, I'm disappointed that this is off. If it gets picked up by Disney Plus, I'm definitely not mad about it, and I'm not mad about anything that's landing on Disney Plus. The latest Mandalorian trailer, just God, I can't wait.
Oh,
3-4 weeks.
oh my god, I just saw last night the new Mandalorian trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I got sucked into watching just Star Wars trailers that weren't even the main trailers, they were just fan made trailers.
Okay.
And then snuck in there was the Mandalorian trailer, which was the Mandalorian trailer. And I was like,
That
and so
looks
again,
so good.
I've been saying for months now that I'm going to give my money to Disney Plus. I'm going to give it to, and I said even before I even saw anything about the Mandalorians, I said they're getting my money for that, and they're getting my money for that plus the Loki show plus the Bucky and Falcon show. But what I'm sorry, whatever they call, I don't know what they're calling it. I can't keep up with the names.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I just know what I want.
So it's funny you say that you're going to be giving your money to Disney. All of the next things we're talking about are about you giving your money to HBO Max.
I actually have five.
And,
Wait,
and
I almost planned to have like $5 here to be like.
Just here you go.
I just have a cat.
They throw the cat at them. It's easily worth $5. The picture that just opened up in front of you is obviously it's Jake and Finn from Adventure Time, and the news is that HBO Max is picking up 4 new to be made new specials being made by Cartoon Network Studios, but going on to HBO Max. First 2 will be in 2020, and then the other 2 at some point after that. The Luminous, just seconds, getting back to Mandalorian, says, I read some informal Mandalorian reviews, and they were glowing, some critiques. Were shown 30 minutes of the show, or critics. Yeah, I did see some of those, and you're right, everybody's just falling all over themselves. Sarah, welcome to the show. Tonight's topic is, as always, multiple topics. And right now we are on Adventure Time, going to HBO Max with 4 brand new specials, hour-long specials, that will be starting in 2020. And that is just absolutely huge news for Adventure Time fans.
Yes. Okay. So when they said, is it my time? I don't want to take away because I have a lot to say.
Go right ahead.
Am I ready to go? Okay. All right. Here I am. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. So when we first saw this, my first thing was, wait, 4 things? No, wait, they did that. They did that with the finale when we had the this and the that and the vampires and the whatever and like. Ooh, don't tell me, because they were little sub things, they were small, and I was like, oh, they're just gonna take what we already have, and they're gonna put it on another thing, and they're just gonna put it all together, and I'm still gonna have to watch it. But then you read the description, it's like BMO in outer space, and it's like, oh, okay, and then it's like Bonnie, and Margie going back to their beginning, and I'm like, I'm here. I don't even watch soap operas, but I'm so here for this. Oh my god, how much money do you need? And it's like, oh, and then something else happens, and then Jin and I almost
Jin
just
and
said
fake.
I almost said, can you tell who I'm here for? I'm sorry, I'm here for
Little excited.
I'm so excited. Finn and Jake go on their last thing, and they have to like really work together as a team, and it's like, I think it's going to show them being older, and for maybe the first time having I mean, they have had over the years alternate opinions, but this is going to be an hour-long special where it's going to show them at odds and coming back together, and I think that's going to be really awesome. And again, it's like, wow, platform I didn't even know existed. Wow, you really know how to get my money. I mean, you had me at BMO, but you have me at everything else. And again, I don't even remember what the third one is. I'm so here for the others.
So the third one, I really like the idea of. It's called Wizard City, and it follows Peppermint Butler,
Oh,
st-
that's it. That's
starting
what.
over at the beginning as just another inexperienced wizard school student.
Oh my
Um,
God, you're absolutely right.
all
Oh,
of these sound
please.
fantastic. Really cool, and it's kind of funny when you're talking about this platform you didn't know about while you were out, and poor Gogo was New York Comic Con, as we like to say. Um, while you were out and recovering, all of this news broke in those last 2 or 3 weeks. So that's when the HBO Warner Brothers deal obviously happened a few months ago, but then the fact that they were coming out with their joint streaming service is going to be called HBO Max. All of that happened in the news that you missed because you weren't here. So um, this is actually as big a deal as Disney Plus, and the reason why is, and I didn't get images for all of these because we're just going to blast through these real quickly. Um, today HBO Max had some sort of big news conference. So among those stories were Greg Berlanti and DC are going to be doing adaptations on HBO Max of DC Comics' Strange Adventures and some sort of Green Lantern universe show, probably Green Lantern Corps. They aren't saying anything about whether either of these are going to be live action or animated yet. They just made the announcement that HBO Max is going to be getting these shows. Um, that alone is absolutely enormous. And then they decided to announce. Now I got to scroll down to my announcements here. Um, I stacked them all up in one spot, and that I shouldn't have done. Now that I'm thinking about it. Um, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. They're all at the top. That's why. So Ridley Scott was making a series. We talked about this a little while ago. It was going to be on TNT. It's called Raised by Wolves, and it's a sci-fi series. Androids, another planet, things like that. It's moving from TNT to HBO Max.
that
Rick
that
and
that sounds kind of cool.
It sounds really cool, and it's being produced by Ridley Scott. So hopefully it won't suck as much as Alien Covenant, but it'll. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it'll be awesome. Rick and Morty, the entire library will be moving to HBO Max ahead of its Adult Swim new season premiere.
And we know what's happening with the new thing, yes? Or is that next week we talk about it?
The new thing?
The new thing. They just announced 5.
Uh, Lay it out there. We don't hold back
Okay.
anything. What?
Okay. So, Adventure Swim just announced the season that we don't deserve because we're only getting 5.
Oh, Rick and Morty. Okay, this is a Rick and Morty thing.
Rick and Morty, yes. So it's coming back to Adventure Time. If you go and you look, you'll see like the most awful looking, terrible, depressing primo ever. Which is in keeping with the franchise.
Let's talk about. You're talking about Rick and Morty. You said Adventure Time. What you meant is it's coming back to Adult Swim.
Oh God, did I get sidetracked?
Well, I think you crossed streams there. You're talking about Rick and Morty and the fact that it's coming back to Adult Swim, right?
How did I get there from? Sorry.
So are we still? What are we on now?
Let's go back to Adventure Time.
Well, we've already covered that.
Okay, so.
So the one other thing that they announced at this big conference was that this HBO Max will launch in May of next year. So you only have to wait until May to see whatever of the things they've already announced will be their launch titles. And I would be willing to bet given the turnaround time required, that some of the Adventure Time, to get back to Adventure Time, at least one of the specials will be a launch title. That it will be in May 2020. Because some of the other shows, and maybe Ridley Scott's Raised by Wolves, because if it's already in production at TNT, then it might be ready by May 2020 to start, on the new HBO Max. But yeah, so HBO Max just dumped a ton, and if you're any kind of a sci-fi fan, a DC fan, you gotta kind of have to go there. Adventure Time fan, and add it to your Disney Plus. Now, thank God they're all like $5.99, so it's not going to destroy you, but still, HBO Max making huge announcements, folks. Pay attention or pay tuned for stay tuned or pay attention or speak English. Um, to more of the stuff going forward, because HBO Max is just going to be making more and more of these announcements, and I guarantee them Disney is going to try to one up them and jump in with like, oh yeah, but guess what? We've just announced we've got this. Sarah asks, do you know how long it takes to put on the Bunny costume, and does he count as a furry? First part of the question, for an experienced cosplayer who wears it for us, it only takes about 10 minutes. Doesn't take long at all. For the second part of the question, I think that would have to be answered by the people wearing it. I have no idea what's going on in their heads, except for as long as they do the stuff we need for our videos. So we're not going to make any assumptions about those gentlemen. Could be furries, and that's fine. Anyway, moving on to our next topic. If you've seen the movie Hocus Pocus, you might recognize those are the kids. And the news is that the long-rumored Hocus Pocus 2 has actually been finally given the green light. Disney Plus, of all places, surprise, surprise, jumping over from all the HBO Max news we just did, is going to be doing it. Haven't heard anything about whether the original cast members are going to be involved in any way, shape, or form, but it's been given the green light. Now, I just got to say, the reason I picked this image instead of the Sanderson sisters is because you see the gravestones in the background. That particular graveyard is approximately 2.25 miles that way from where I am right now. Which is one of those cool little things. You can walk around my town and go, hey, they filmed this scene here and they filmed that scene there. But anyway, if you're a fan, keep an eye out for it. Again, because it just got announced, no date.
Well, no date. We'll see how it goes. Also, I am less knowledgeable. I'm one of those people who didn't grow up with Hocus Pocus, but actually lives very close to the Black Cat, who has become a cult figure. And I will say that I am with him often, and he has been touring a lot. And so if he were going to be recording and doing a movie, his tour schedule wouldn't be as busy as it is right now. So just wait a little bit and see.
Black Cat, you mean a character in the movie?
Uh-huh. The cat.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't realize that person continued to perform in some fashion.
Yes. Many voice characters and acting all over, and lives near me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So just like as Gogo indicates, we know nothing about what is going to be in this, if there's a script, what the script might look like, who's going to be involved in it, etc. Just that Disney has said, "Yep, we're going to make it." To the consternation of a lot of people who are huge fans of it. It's kind of a flop when it first came out, and then became this big Halloween cult hit. So, but moving on. This news, for me, this is right up there in like best news of the week. That is, of course, Superman from the the CW Supergirl series, and the Lois Lane that we only saw in last year's Arrowverse crossover. Um, and the news is that CW is in fact making a series, Superman and Lois, with Tyler Hoechlin as Superman, hands down the best Superman we've seen since probably Christopher Reeves. He is just perfect. At least the way he's been written and the way he's acted it in all of the CW stuff so far. And I've been just saying for years, since he first showed up a couple of years ago in Supergirl, that he needs his own series. This guy absolutely needs his own series. He's that good. And finally, he's getting it. And I'm a happy man. No word here as to when this might happen. It will be on CW, at least right now. Who knows with all the CW, Warner Brothers, HBO Max stuff, where it'll land. But it would make sense for it to be. It also it says here that it will have its own separate pilot. They won't use one of the other Arrowverse shows to, including Supergirl, to lead him in. That this series will have its own standalone pilot, even though it will clearly be part of the CW Arrowverse because he's already appeared as Superman and Clark in the Arrowverse. So I'm very excited. Very much looking forward to this. Can't wait for them to get this off the ground. Just as an additional aside, they actually finally gave a full series approval to the Batwoman series, which I thought it already had a full season run, but apparently not. Apparently, it was really conditional on how it performed, and it's a miss for me. The writing's just, particularly the dialogue, but even the plotting was just sad in the first two episodes. I haven't seen past the first two episodes. It was that bad. Which is too bad because I'll probably watch the whole thing because I want to support the concept, and really do everything I can to make sure that as a concept this show keeps going. But as a piece of entertainment, ouch. Hopefully Superman will be better. Pardon me for being distracted here, but my Bluetooth watch keeps trying to connect to my phone, although it already should be. This is kind of surprising news. I'm not really sure why this is happening. That is, of course, Daenerys Targaryen, and that is sort of the image that I picked from the last time we talked about this, which is the Game of Thrones prequel series that was in the works at HBO, starring Naomi Watts. They already had the thing. It was written by Jane Goldman. It was ready to go, and now they've canceled it. Don't know why. There's nothing in this article about what the word was. It doesn't say anything about creative differences or anything like that. This was supposed to launch next spring.
But if I remember correctly, and just going back on what we talked about, this was the showrunners for this were going to be the guys from earlier, right? The same Game of Thrones guys?
Nope. No, that's next. That's you're getting ahead of ourselves. That's the next article, because there's more Game of Thrones news.
All right. So you're right. I'm skipping ahead. So we don't know why this one went. This one is just a will o' the wisp.
My guess is it has something to do with HBO Max. That either there was budgeting issues because they did announce that there was at that time it was a second prequel series in development just a few weeks ago.
Right.
And they may have decided they want to go with just one, and it's this other one which tells the stories of the Targaryens, as opposed to the Naomi Watts one, which was more about the history of Westeros back during like the last long night.
Gosh, I'm not even sure, even with all my fanatical readings of like all of this stuff, I'm not even sure I knew that there were two different prequels happening with two different sources.
Uh, there was a rumor that there were a bunch of them considered. The Naomi Watts one was the only one they announced for quite a while, and then again, while you were struggling with New York Comic Con crud, um, they put out the announcement that that this second one has been given the green light to go for a pilot to go into development.
And
Um,
is that the one we're talking about right now?
no, we're talking about the first one, the Naomi
We're
Watts
talking
one.
about the first one, the Naomi Watts
Right,
one.
that was the one that was announced months ago. This one that was announced weeks ago is it's more about the Targaryen, um, the rise of the Targaryens in old Valyria, and maybe they just decided they liked that one better. Maybe one of them's going to HBO Max eventually. We
Okay.
don't know.
Okay. Gotcha.
Luminous says yes, this is about Tyler Hoechlin getting back one because I missed it. Yes, he was great in Supergirl. All these CWDC shows made by the same people. Yes, um, they are all made by Berlanti Productions, Greg Berlanti's production company. Um, if you go and look at the IMDb listings for these things and get in pretty deep, you will see that they share generally about 50% of all of the same production people. So stunt people, it's roughly a 50% share. Computer design people for the special effects, because they're all superhero shows, roughly a 50% share. Um, each show has its own, but then there are people who work on multiple. Um, and that's probably one of the reasons why Berlanti can do it and keep cranking these things out is he's got a team essentially that works on multiple things. Um, but that has nothing to do with Game of Thrones, and we're getting into our last topic of the night. Wow, we went through these real quickly. And the last topic of the night is and I went right by it. Where is it? There we go. All right, more Game of Thrones, yay! So the reason I picked this image for the news that we're about to talk about is that this is from I think it's the end of season 7 or or from season 8. I think this is actually from season 8. And season 8 is, of course, one of the worst things ever put on television because of the complete and utter failure of Benioff and Weiss, the showrunners. And the news is we know that they did this, that they rushed this short season 8 against the advice of HBO, which said, we'll give you more episodes to finish this story. And the rumor out there is because they were going to Star Wars. Of course, they had a deal, you might be getting an idea of what the story's about.
Fingers up, but I won't. So I'm just going to do these.
For
instead
those
of
fingers for these guys, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a family show. So these and
it's not really that family a show, but we don't want to get demonetized.
No, but we know what we know what I'm thinking.
Well, let me get to the news. The news is that they are not, in fact, going to be doing a 3-picture new trilogy deal of Star Wars movies. They have bailed on that, and they are going to they are going to be exclusively under their new deal that they announced a while back at Netflix. So, to me, this is excellent news that we don't get to see these two guys produce probably 2 acceptably crappy movies and then finish it off with one piece of utter garbage, which is their track record for Game of Thrones.
Correct. Again, and I do know my finger uppage was a little bit before what he was saying. I was anticipating it.
Exactly.
I believe it completely. These guys have been known, in commentary on all the boards for years and years and years as the CEOs of, again, family show. We're just going to say kits and bass.
Exactly.
And so to see something that has...
You can say it's a family show. You can say boobies and butts.
Right, as the CEO of Boobies and Butts. And so to see like a space opera that we've all grown up with for years and years and years that has been completely, for better and worse, about the saga. But, and again, as somebody who loves the boobies and the butts, but just it's in the right time and place, like to see these people, it was like, oh no, 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 don't bring your brand to this. You're not gonna make, no. And so to see them be gone, it's like
Yep.
we do the queen wave.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the loading dock door hit you on the ass on the way out.
Yep. Bye bye.
Oh gosh, I'm not even gonna try that first name. Queen commentary. Welcome to the show. Um, so I agree 100%. These guys are total hack jobs. If you want to absolutely just be infuriated even more than you were if you were a fan of Game of Thrones, um, go
Dig it,
to the
Scott.
Nerdist
Dig
YouTube
it,
channel.
dig it in.
Go to the Nerdist YouTube channel and look at their latest video about this. These two guys did a Q&A at an event. It wasn't like a Comic-Con. It was something else just this past weekend. And the answers to the questions, when we find out just how completely slipshod, garbage tier effort they put into this from the beginning, their own admission, it makes you want to just,
Punch in the face.
punch them in the face, you know, tie them to an anchor and toss them in a deep, deep ravine.
Bye. Bye, boys. Bye.
Oh my God, it's it's one of the most infuriating things I've watched in quite a while. To think that these guys would sit there and just absolutely blatantly admit how they essentially uh, completely fronted their way in with no ability and no they shouldn't have even come close to touching this material at the beginning, and then completely phoned it in at the end. It's
Yeah, I had just read a thing that was by one of the actresses, and I don't remember if it was Sophie or Amelia Clark, but they had come out and said, "Oh, we finally got to see like some of the motivation, but we only saw it when like the D&B went and like talked a bunch of things. It was like why Sansa and Daenerys didn't get along at the end when they really should. They should have been a team. They could have been everything. And it was like, because two women of power just can't get along. And that's what D&B said. And when like Amelia and Sophie finally saw that, they were like, and then Amelia was also like, also, all I asked for from the whole thing was that they give me one wig, just one of the wigs. One of the wigs. And I never got one. And I'm like, bitch,
yeah.
I will make you one.
That's sad, but that's yeah. So you're talking about that, about motivation and so on. One of the things that they announced, or one of the things that they talked about, somebody asked them about um, understanding character motivation, and they admitted that aside from what George R.R. Martin had written, they had no idea what the character motivations for any single character in the show was, and they got the character motivations from the actors themselves. And once they said, "Oh, I see what, so that makes sense. You did it this way. Okay, so now Sansa is this."
But Sansa was
You
no,
can't write like that.
no.
I
They
think,
were when they brought these kids in, they were each like 14. This is a whole. I feel like this is
well,
a
again,
whole.
let me just until they reached the end of George R. R. Martin's content in the end of season 6 or 5, they didn't have to worry about that because he had written all the brilliant character motivation for the characters. They just never bothered trying to understand why that was the case once it was handed off to them. So all of the actors at that point were adults, and better actors than they were when they started. So some of them actually did provide some sort of guidance. Some of them didn't. It just Anyway, I'm gonna start yelling. Old man yells at clouds.
It's okay. I started yelling before about Adventure Time, but then it went into Rick and Morty, and I don't even know how we went there. So thank you for putting up with me. Whoever's been watching, I'm not even quite sure how that happened.
I wouldn't worry about it. We had so much stuff, and Adventure Time and Rick and Morty both had news about HBO Max, so that's where
Yeah,
it was.
so that's
Folks,
what it was.
that's it for our show. Before Gogo completely loses it, um, thank you all for joining us. Once again, we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Um, we'll have all sorts of fun times coming up. Let's see. We'll have a team at Rhode Island Comic Con. We'll have a team at Super Mega Fest. Um, fingers crossed, we'll have a team at Anime NYC. We haven't heard yet. Um, and then I think we're pretty close to jumping into the new year after that. So, once again, thank you all. Go, say goodbye.
Bye bye. Go watch my content on YouTube because they tell me what I did at New York Comic Con was actually pretty cool. So go watch it.
That would be at Nerd Caliber. So go to YouTube and search Nerd Caliber. Caliber. And once again, Rodney Brown signing off. We will see you. Luminous says Super Mega Fest. Good night, all. We'll see you next week. Good night, all.
Toodles.